Hey guys, it's Luke-Yan, and today I am going to be discussing with you all every book that I read in the month of May. May was my first, basically full month back for summer, so I did read quite a lot. I read a bunch of novellas and just other books, so let's just jump right into the video because we do have quite a bit to cover. The first two books that I read in the month of May were Belladonna and Foxglove by Adalyn Grace. I do not have my copy of Belladonna yet because I ordered the UK hardcover edition, which is not supposed to arrive for another couple of days, so I'll just hold up Foxglove. But this series is kind of like a gothic fantasy romance series. It's a YA trilogy, so these are the first two books that are out, and they follow a main character named Signa, who has her whole life kind of been surrounded by death. All of her caretakers have mysteriously died. She doesn't really know the cause of it, and one day she actually has a run-in with the personification of death himself, and she ends up going to this manor where she's going to have another caretaker, and she only needs to be in the in this house for another year, I think it is, before she inherits before she receives her inheritance. So, but when she gets there, she finds out that there are very mysterious things going on with her extended family who lives in this manor, and she decides that she is going to get to the bottom of a death that happened to the matriarch, recently, and she has death at her side to help unravel this mystery. That was a very choppy synopsis, but it's a really, really great series. I gave both these books 4 out of 5 stars. It's super atmospheric. I love Adalyn Grace's writing. The plot is so addicting because it is a mystery, but it also has these really cool fantastical aspects because Signa can communicate with death, and she does that by ingesting belladonna berries because she is impervious to the side effects. And in this book we get a change of scenery. We also get a second perspective from one of Signa's relatives. There's a lot of twists and turns in these first two books, and this installment leaves off on a huge cliffhanger, so I'm super excited to see where things go in the third book, Wisteria. But I would definitely recommend this series if you want a gothic, very atmospheric, immersive fantasy series with some mystery aspects as well. All the characters are super interesting as well, and just very easy to root for because they're in very tough situations and you just want them to get through, and you want Signa to figure out all of the dark secrets that are hiding in every corner. So it's super compulsively readable and definitely a fantasy series that I would recommend starting before the third book comes out this August. Then I kind of made it my mission this month to get some books off of my TBR that have been there for a while, so I decided to pick up The Night in Question by Kathleen, Glasgow, and Liz Lawson. This is the sequel / companion to the Agathas, which I read 2 years ago, I think. I actually have a spoiler-free reading vlog for the Agathas because it was part of my Reading 7 Books in 7 Days challenge that I did a couple of years ago. So if you want to check that out, it's on my channel. But this is the sequel, and this series follows two main characters named Alice and Iris, who live in this tiny coastal town in California. And in the first book, there is a mysterious death, and one of the characters is obsessed with Agatha Christie. She herself had a disappearance about a year ago that mirrored Agatha Christie's own disappearance, and then in this book they are trying to figure out the answer to, they're trying to find the murderer of one of their classmates, and they are trying to see if it connects to a death that happened in the same estate in the 50s, I think it was, to a movie star named Mona Moody. So this, if you like Agatha Christie, this book definitely has those similar vibes with small towns and amateur detectives. Obviously a lot of Agatha Christie's books follow Poirot or Miss Marple and such, but she does have quite a few standalone books that just follow regular people trying to solve mysteries, and that definitely has this vibe. And for one of the main characters, before every chapter there's an epigraph from an Agatha Christie novel, so it's definitely interwoven throughout the story, and it's just very fun. It's a contemporary mystery series. I ended up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't love it as much as the Agathas. I thought the Agathas was a super inventive, cool, fun mystery, and this one was interesting as well. I just feel like I connected with it a little bit less. Yeah, it wasn't as compelling to me, but I would read more from this series if the authors decide to continue on, but I would definitely recommend it if you're just looking for something that you can read and like turn your brain off and just have fun with a cool mystery as well. Next, I read Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is like the old paperback edition that I got in like 2017. I did ask for the like new US paperback box set for my birthday, so hopefully I get that in a couple of days, but this is a book that I've literally had on my TBR, as I said, since 2017, and I kind of like had it in a pile of books to unhaul just because I didn't really have that much interest in reading it after a while of it sitting on my shelf, and I don't really know why, because I love the Strange the Dreamer series by Laini Taylor, so I like should have thought that I would love this book, and I decided to pick it up on a whim, and I did really love it. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and if you do not know what this book is about, because it did come out quite a while ago, and people don't really talk about it as much anymore, it follows a main character named Carew who lives in Prague, and she is an art student, and people are very intrigued by her because she has blue hair, and she's always drawing these mysterious figures. And what people don't know is that everything that she draws is true, and she is kind of like she like does missions or favors for this guy named Brimstone, who she's known for as long as she can remember. She considers him and his cohort like a second, like her family, and he has this workshop that if you go into it, you can exit it and go anywhere in the world. His door is kind of like a portal. But when mysterious handprints show up all around the world, Carew realizes that she has to figure out, you know, who's at the bottom of this, and or else, you know, she might lose the only people she's ever known to be her family. It's kind of confusing to explain because it is a very lyrical book. It takes a little while to get going, and it's also just kind of strange. Like, you don't really, like, just hearing it, it kind of sounds very, like, abstract and odd, but once you actually get into it, you're just immediately thrust into the story, you're super invested, and I just could not put it down at a certain point, and there is a huge plot twist in the middle, which was really, really interesting, and you also get some perspective, or some chapters from the perspective of an angel, so there's, like, a little bit of angel and demon stuff, and it is just a really, really interesting, inventive fantasy, and I just love Laini Taylor's writing. I do like it more in the Strange the Dreamer duology, but it is really, really good here as well. It's just, this is more of a contemporary fantasy, so it doesn't lend itself to a super lyrical writing style like 100% of the time, like the Strange the Dreamer series does. But I love books that include portals, so this one was right up my alley, and I just had a really fun time reading it, and I definitely am excited to continue on with the series. So, right around when I was finishing The Knight in Question and Daughter of Smoke and Bone, I got my wisdom teeth pulled out, so all 4, top and bottom, so I was in recovery for like a week, and I didn't really know what to read, but I decided to pick up Night and Cake and Puppets by Laini Taylor, which is a novella that follows 2 side characters in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and I gave this one 3 stars. I thought it was really cute, and it's one of like the better novellas that I've read, like in series, so I did really enjoy it, but I know that I probably won't think about it in like a couple of weeks or months. I would say if you like the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series and you want like a cute little story to read in between some of the main, or like the main books in the series, definitely pick it up because it's a super cute, you know, romantic story. It's not essential to the series at all, but it definitely, like, Laini Taylor was able to showcase like her romance development skills and her writing skills, and you get to see like a little bit of fantasy as well. It's really good, and I would say if you're getting your wisdom teeth pulled out and you need a book to, you know, distract you from the pain, pick this one up. Then I read These Rebel Waves by Sara Raasch. This is another book that I've had on my TBR since the Ice Age, and I decided to just pick it up because I was looking at my shelf. I didn't really know what to read, and I was like, you know what, that book has been sitting here for years, so let me just pick it up. And I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I was really hoping to enjoy it more than I did, but let's see if I can explain it because it's very, very complicated. But basically, I actually have no idea how I'm going to summarize this, but there are three main characters in this book. We have Lou, who is like, her family is involved in this council of delegates who will live on this island called Grace Lorraine that was involved in a war before this book began, and they are trying to figure out how to deal with the pirates around this island. One of them being Dev, or Dex. How do they refer to him? I think his name is Devereaux. Oh, right, but they call him Vex. So, he is one of these pirates, and the pirates basically steal these plants that have magical capabilities. And then our third main character is Ben, who is like the son of this religious figure on the mainland. It's very complicated with like the politics of like all of these different kingdoms or like areas, I guess, and there's like a lot of religious tension. The magic system is very involved in that as well because it has to deal with like political subterfuge or like privateering. So there's a lot in this story, which is one of the reasons why I think I had trouble with it. Not that it was like too complex, but I think it just, this is one of those books where it feels like the second book in a series, and I feel like there was so much before this book that not seeing it actually play out on the page hindered my reading experience of this. It's kind of hard to explain, but I just feel like the prologue of this book could have been the first book in this series, and this could have been the second book in the series. It just felt very disconnected, or I felt disconnected from the story because I feel like there was so much prior information that I had not gleaned. I was just told it, which is like, for me, it's harder to comprehend something when you're just told about it in a book rather than seeing it. Like, it's hard for me to compartmentalize it and like take it with me throughout the rest of the story. So I just felt a lot of like, not confusion, but just like frustration throughout the story because it just seemed like I was missing something, and I just wanted more backstory for each of the characters. I wanted more religious, backstory. I wanted more discussion of the politics of this land, and I just felt like I just felt like there were missing pieces. The plot is fun. I think it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of connection or interconnection between like religion and politics and magic, because they all kind of just like go together, because obviously like the politics have to deal with these pirates who are stealing these plants that contain magic, and then the magic is also like interconnected with the religious systems. So it's very complicated, which is why I think it needed a previous installment or just more explanation, more flashbacks, things like that. So I liked the characters. I thought they were interesting. Did feel pretty at arm's length with them most of the time until like the last third of the book. It also, there's like one of the characters that feels very unreliable. I think my Goodreads review sums up my thoughts on this book very well because I wrote it like obviously right after I finished the book. Now that I've had some time to think about it, I kind of just feel very ambivalent towards the story because I don't remember much anymore. It's, again, I think I wrote in my Goodreads review, like, once I close this book and like step away from it for a couple of days, like, I'm not going to remember anything, and that seems to be the case. I do think it is worthy of 3 stars, like, it's well crafted, I think. I just feel like the author was showing us, like, the top of the iceberg, and there's all this stuff below that we're kind of just hinted at, but not actually depicted. So, I hope that makes sense. I would recommend it if you want, like, a book that deals a lot with like religion and political intrigue and like pirates, but other than that, I think there are some better YA books that deal with that sort of stuff. I did like the religious stuff because that's not explored very often in YA, but I feel like there was like, I don't know, I just feel like it needed a little bit of a defter hand at certain points. Next, I read all 9 prequel novellas in the Dorothy Must Die series. I randomly like got an urge to read this series because I saw the Wicked trailer, and then my mom and I went to see Wicked on Broadway, so I was really invested in The Wizard of Oz, and I was like excited about it, and I was like, you know what? I want to read a Wizard of Oz retelling. what Wizard of Oz retelling can I think of? Dorothy Must Die. And then I remembered that there's like a million prequel novellas, so I was like, okay, let me start these, like, kind of dip my feet in the water before I, like, plunge into the series full throttle. And I really enjoyed all of these. I was very, very shocked, but I love Danielle Paige's writing style. I love the spin that she put on Oz. If you don't know, the Dorothy Must Die series deals with like an alternate version of Oz where Dorothy comes back after leaving at the end of the first like book by Frank Baum. And when she gets there, she becomes like a tyrannical ruler. And these kind of deal with like the before, and like what happens prior to the main character of the like main series showing up. So I'm just gonna kind of go through like each novella pretty quickly and just talk about like my star rating and my overall thoughts. So the first one is called No Place Like Oz, which is probably my favorite one in these prequel like arc, and it is the longest one actually, and this actually is from Dorothy's perspective and takes place like 2 years after the end of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and goes through her arriving back with Aunt Em and her uncle, whose name I'm like blanking on for some reason, and she, you know, has to deal with, there's like strange things, she believes there's like something strange happening with Glinda, and she wants to know what's happening with Ozma, that sort of stuff. I really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really interesting and a good introduction to the series and shows you like Dorothy's progression. Then the next one is The Witch Must Burn. This follows Jellia, who is a servant in the Emerald Palace, and she ends up working for Glinda in this novella. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well. I thought it was really interesting, and it deals a lot with like Glinda's sort of switch from good to bad, or good to wicked, I should say. Then the next one is The Wizard Returns. This is probably my second least favorite. It just deals with the wizard like coming back after his hot air balloon like crash lands, as he's trying to leave Oz, and he loses memory, and it deals with like the flying monkeys and stuff like that. It was interesting, but just not one of my favorites, so I gave it 3 stars. Then next was Heart of Tin, which is probably my second favorite in these series, or in this arc, and it deals with the Tin Woodman and his transformation after receiving a heart, and how he now is kind of in love with Dorothy and will do anything she says, and I really liked it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Next was The Straw King, which obviously deals with the Scarecrow, and this takes place the earliest chronologically in the prequel series and deals with him as king. And I like this too. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next one is Ruler of Beasts. This follows the Cowardly Lion as he's on a mission for Glinda, and this one was good as well. I also gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next was Order of the Wicked. This is probably my least favorite. I gave it like 2.5 to 3 stars, and it just is about the Order of the Wicked, which is a order that is meant to take down the wicked. Then after that is Dark Side of the Rainbow. I gave this 4 stars as well. I thought it was really interesting. It follows Polychrome and just deals with like her connection with Dorothy and how she's noticing that some strange things are happening with her. And the last one is Ozma of Oz, which I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this one was really cool as well. It takes place from like 3 different perspectives, and there's a big plot twist in this one, and it definitely shocks me, for sure. I would absolutely recommend reading these prequel novellas before diving into the series. I'll probably read the main books in the series, like, in the coming months. So I'm glad that I have this, like, foundational knowledge before actually getting into the 4 actual novels in the series. Then after that, I went on a little vacation, and I decided to read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This is their newest book. If you didn't know, Christina Lauren is a writing duo. They wrote one of my favorite romance books of all time, The Unhoneymooners, and this book so far is the one that I feel is the most similar to The Unhoneymooners, and I ended up giving it a full 5 out of 5 stars. This book follows 2 main characters, Anna and Liam, and I think 5 years prior to the book's beginning, they ended up having a marriage of convenience because they needed subsidized family housing while they were in college, and they basically never saw each other. They were on like totally different schedules, and they just never really interacted after they got married. But one day, Liam's sister announces that she is going to get married and she's going to have her wedding in Indonesia on this like remote island there. And the catch is that Liam's family finally wants to see the wife that he has said so much about because he needs to be married in order to collect his inheritance. And he tells Anna that they never actually divorced and he needs her to come with him to Indonesia in exchange for a large sum of money that he will give her once he receives his inheritance from his family. And she agrees to go, and it's like fake dating on this really tropical island during this wedding with his terrible family, and it is so addicting and so fun. I can't wait to get my hands on a physical copy. I also asked for this for my birthday, so we'll see if I end up getting it, but oh my god, I loved this book so much. It's the perfect vacation read. It's so much fun. I love the characters. The plot is addicting. The setting is so fun to read about, and I really loved everything about it. Like, it was so good, and it was amazing. Like, I honestly have, like, nothing bad to say about this book. Just all of the plot contrivances that are implemented are so fun and fresh and unique, and this just reminded me why I love Christina Lauren's books. And the ending was like amazing. There are some plot twists in this book. It's just like the romance itself is so great as well, and all the side characters too are just, you either hate them or you're rooting for them. Like, it's just, they're so complex, and yeah, I can't say good enough things about this book. Definitely highly recommend. And then the last book that I read in the month of May was The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This is a book that I actually just did a full reading vlog review for, so I'm not going to talk about it much here. I'll just link that video in the description box because I go into way more depth than I can in this short segment of this video. But I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars as well. I have not had many 5 out of 5 star books in a row, or like I have had more 5 out of 5 star books this year than any year before. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one, and I would recommend checking out my video for it as well. But that is it for this video. I really hope you all enjoyed. All of my social media links are in the description box below. I would love to know what books you read in May and all of your thoughts on any of the books that I read. But that is it, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye!